Welcome back to another episode, guys. This may be a little short and a little sweet, but we're going to talk about growing and maturing on this podcast because recent experiences have taught me that I actually have grown when I didn't think I did. So stick around if you are interested in this topic. All right, guys, I am flying solo today, which y'all know I hate doing because talking to yourself is hard. I've already recorded and re-recorded this episode so many times, I can't even count because I feel like it sounds retarded, but we're just going to go with it. I initially almost ended this podcast, and it may still end. I don't know, because the content's been hard lately. Not that the actual content has been hard, but like getting the guest and having time between work and, hanging out with friends outside of work. It's just been kind of hard to space my time out because now I work 5 days a week versus the 3 days a week. And this podcast started out as a hobby. It was just something to do when I had nothing to do and I enjoyed doing it. So we're going to take it back to that. If I put an episode out once a month, that's what we'll do. If I put none out, hey, it was fun while it lasted. It lasted over a year. And we've had some great conversations and some great guests, and I love it. So if you love the podcast and you haven't caught up on the episodes, go do that. But this episode, while I'm trying to avoid the situation, is about growing and how much growth that I have seen in myself lately and didn't realize until recently because some things transpired. But we all grow. I think it's a hard thing to do. And I also think it's a hard thing to recognize in ourselves until something upsetting or, maybe even really great happens. But everyone knows about the situationship I talked about because I talked about it. It's kind of spread throughout this podcast because it's my past, right? We learn from our past. I've learned things from my childhood trauma where, I felt abandoned by my father because he never wanted to be around. So it was almost like, oh, well, I guess I'm not good enough to be around. Learned that at a very young age. So then developed this very hateful relationship with him. And then that stemmed over into me deciding to change my life from being different from my family. Like we grew up very poor, didn't have a lot of money to do a lot of things, lived in trailer parks. Don't think we bought our first house until I was a preteen. And it wasn't like anything extravagant. We never had the nicest things. I always had to buy my own things if I wanted them. And I think a lot of people grow up like that. I think a lot of people have stories, and I don't think mine's special. I tell it to the people I find close to me. I guess I'm telling it now on the podcast. But I think if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you're interested. So yeah, I developed a very hard outer shell at a very young age because I felt I had to protect myself from getting hurt. And that probably stemmed from getting hurt because my dad didn't want me. So who else would want me? And then me and my biological sister didn't have the best relationship. It was very physically and emotionally abusive. She would beat me up, literally, like hit me and stuff. And it wasn't until recently, my therapist was like, you were a victim of abuse. And I was like, I don't feel like that because people have had it worse. And she, I was told that I was ugly all the time. I was told that I would never have a boyfriend, that no one would ever like me. So those things stemmed over. Anyone who knows me, I don't know. We're not going there. But that just stemmed over into the situationship that I had, and then I picked up things from that relationship, like what I thought love was and what I thought a relationship was supposed to be, when it was in actuality, a guy that really wasn't into me, but could be into me if there was nothing else going on or there was no other girl around and it was a hookup session or whatever. And I thought he likes me. I confused that. And I think that stems from not having anyone around at the time. Not saying that I didn't have great friends because I did, but not having that, not knowing or having that love and affection in my family as a child. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have a lot of love between a parent-daughter, parent-sibling, or what am I trying to say? Parent kid relationship and I didn't have a lot of that sibling love that I see with my friends that I used to get so jealous of and couldn't understand why. So I think where I'm going with this is I think our pasts definitely mold and shape us, right? Like our past make us into a shell of ourselves where we have these reactions and these actions. And does that make it right? Absolutely not. But where I'm going is how we grow from it. You have two options. You can either continue to stay in it because you don't recognize it, or people can point it out to you, or you ruin relationships or you ruin friendships that you really cared about. And either you can take that moment and self-sulk and be like, that really sucks, and continue doing what you're doing and be self-destructive and self-sabotaging, or you can choose like, that really sucked and I didn't want to lose that person in my life, but if anything positive comes from this, then maybe I can grow from it and I won't do it again. And I'm also a huge believer in everything happens for a reason, right? So not saying that God wants you to go out and self-sabotage and self-destruct and hurt people, but I also think like something would have happened and it's that growing point for you, and it's like a pivotal moment in your life where you can say, this was supposed to happen so I could learn this. And that happened to me recently. I allowed my past to come up and creep and let it get the best of me. And I acted the way I did when I was in college, when I felt, acting needy and can't control a situation and continuing to be that emotional girl. And I acted that way and it didn't turn out how I thought it would. And that's okay. Initially I was very deeply mad at myself because I was like, why would I do that? Like I ruined something. But then I continued to think, because I'm a thinker and I truly think everything happens for a reason. And in that moment, I caught it before I normally would. And I did sincerely apologize, and I do sincerely still apologize. But I also know that I don't want to continue to do that. I reached out to my therapist and I said, we got to talk. I reached out to my psychic medium that I talked to and I was like, we got to talk because this isn't who I am anymore. I was that person. I was. And I was talking to my aunt about this today. Y'all know I talked to my aunt I was like, I think that person, like our past will always be a part of us, right? So how do we not bring that up? Because in certain situations that trigger us, we have triggers. Everyone has triggers. And then we react or act in a way that we once did. How do we stop that? And she was like, you continue to work on it. You continue to go through these hard things and you continue to talk about it when you talk to your therapist or you talk to that person that it was hard with, and you communicate and you grow and you say, here's the boundaries, here's what it is. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So, and then in the next situation, hopefully it doesn't happen, or it's a little less, and then it's a little less, and then it's a little less until it's not there anymore. Or you'll just find your people. Your people will say, well, I don't like this part of you. It's a minimal side of you, but it is a part of you. And I get it. Like there's boundaries on everyone, but I think that growing and maturing from what you've learned is the best thing. And it's a hard thing. And you have to go through these sucky situations that are hard. They're just hard. Growing up is hard. Being an adult is hard. They don't tell you that when you're a kid. We're all like, I want to drive. I want to drink. I want to do this. But my takeaways from everything, I guess what I'm saying is like through looking back at the years and knowing what I've been through and knowing who I am now and how much growth I've done even in the past 5 years. I have a really great mentor now, which is my aunt. I have a therapist. I have a psychic medium, and I have really great friends that I have, surrounded myself with, that I kind of just weeded out the bullshit people. Like I used to think that everyone was my friend, and that's even growth. Like I have weeded those people out, and I keep myself surrounded with people who truly love me for me and know my heart and want to get to know my heart. And I'm a ride or die bitch. Like I am down for you 150% if you're in my life. And y'all know that because y'all are listening to this podcast. Y'all support me, and I thank y'all for that. And I'm proud of where I'm, self-actualization and realization. Am I proud of my actions? Absolutely fucking not. But I'm proud that I can actually recognize that it's wrong and move forward and do my best to not let it sabotage anything in the future. And so that's what I'm working on. My growth right now is to stop self-sabotaging, stop reacting, and stop trying to control situations and only control my actions and my reactions and just be my best self. That's all I can do. That's all anybody can do. That's all anybody can ask for. And I think that everyone should kind of look inward and say, well, what can I, work on? I think if we all continued to just try to be the best versions of ourselves and not run from things and look at it and face hard shit and have hard conversations with each other as humans, I think a lot of the world's problems would go away if we just fucking communicated. But anyways, that's my rambling and my little spat on growth and maturity. And yeah, let's all get out there and continue to be better people. So like I always end the podcast, I don't know if there will be an episode next week, if there will be another episode at all. But until next time, guys, bye.